All right, it is 9:48 on this Sunday evening. The travel ban in New York City went into effect at 9 o'clock, so no travel permitted anywhere in the five boroughs. That includes through the tunnels and bridges, that includes city bikes, that includes any electric scooters. All travel is banned until noon tomorrow, noon on Monday, as Blizzard 2026 gets going. You can see a live shot there of Times Square, and the snow is coming down. It's always interesting in Times Square because it always does appear to be a lot less snow than what has actually accumulated. But we're starting to get some of our first snow amounts reported around the city, and I can show you at least a couple of those. So there you are looking at some of those amounts. 5.5 inches in Hudson in New Jersey. Fairfield, Connecticut also checking in at about 5 inches. Fresh Meadows, 4.5 inches of snow, and that was at 9:35. So really not that long ago. So we're really starting to see that snow starting to pile up, and I think the heaviest snow is actually yet to come. This is a look at the radar centered over Mount Holly in New Jersey. So we're looking at a perspective of a radar from our south, and whenever you see any sort of banding of yellow like that, that's some heavier snow. So we're starting to see these bands coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. That is going to continue as we go through the early morning hours. I would suspect that as we go into the early morning hours, that the snow is actually going to pick up even more so. We're going to start to see 2 to 3 inches of snow per hour. I actually think the peak of this storm happens at around 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. So back to the full screen of the radar. If we want, we can actually change the perspective here and look at the radar from out there toward Islip. So this is the radar a little bit closer to home as we zoom in. Let me put some towns on there. You can see that right now we're seeing a band of some very heavy snow extending from Queens over to Oyster Bay, easy for me to say at 9:50 on a Sunday evening. But yeah, you can see the snow there, really heavy in that part of the city. Not quite as heavy elsewhere, but perhaps right now the heaviest snow in the five boroughs is actually happening from Queens over to Oyster Bay. You know, one of my favorite Chardonnays comes from Oyster Bay, so you know I should be able to say that. But as we change the view here, I do want to go back to the snowfall amounts and then switch over actually to our future radars. So there we are looking at what the radar looks like right now, or at least a computer interpretation of what the radar looks like right now. And then we're going to move this forward in time. So what I expect here as we go forward in time, and I'll put that there in the little browser as well, that you'll see the really dark blues that are offshore start to pivot in off the Atlantic. So these are going to be the bands of the strongest part of the blizzard rolling in at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's going to coincide, as I'll show you in a moment, with the peak wind gusts, which are going to reach 50, 55 miles per hour, maybe even 60 miles per hour. So the worst of the storm, the heaviest snow, and the heaviest wind come together. Again, it's going to be sometime probably between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning that pivots in. So let's go back to the full screen view. We're going to move this forward in time. And so here we are over the next couple of hours. Yeah, it looks like it lightens up a little bit, right? And then you see the dark coming in. I'm going to pan this up to the top a little bit so I can see the time. So this, at this point, is about 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So there's the heaviest snow. We definitely have seen this let up a little bit from what the projections were a little earlier. We were talking about this, or at least I was, with my first update, that there's been a shift toward the east with the track of this low. That continues to be the case. So what may actually play out is that the heaviest snow now is a little bit more to the east, certainly east of New York City, which is why I think the city itself will end up with around a foot. But that is not what's playing out for Long Island. You can see that the really heavy snow is still going to be certainly right over Long Island. And here we are. Some of that, this is at 8 o'clock in the morning, still moving through the five boroughs. That band moves off to the west. And then here we are by noon and 1 o'clock. It's starting to let up. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Well, it doesn't quite go out that far. These high resolution models only go out so far, but the idea is that once we get beyond 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, the snow is going to begin to let up. So that travel ban will be lifted, or at least is expected to be lifted, at noon tomorrow. I wouldn't be completely surprised if that is extended at least a couple of hours. I think that there's going to be some time there where the city's going to have to catch up on all of what this storm has produced. Let me switch this over, and I'm going to, excuse me a moment as I pan over and find the future wind here. These are the wind gusts. And so we're going to have to move the timeline back here. But here we are this evening, and let's move this up so you get a more centered view of what's going on. But here we are this evening where the winds are starting to gust 25, 30 miles per hour. Let's put this on the full screen there so you get a better view at some of the numbers there. But as we move this forward in time, let's see, what time is this exactly? So this is around midnight. You're starting to see those 46, 48 mile per hour wind gusts pushing toward the Atlantic facing areas of Long Island. We're getting some 40 mile per hour wind gusts into the 5 boroughs. We move that clock forward even more so, and we're going to start to see some 50, 55 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe even on the extreme east end of Long Island, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So as I said earlier today, this afternoon, this is going to be a storm that people remember for a long time, not just because of the snow amounts, but these winds that are going to be capable of causing power outages through the overnight and into the first part of Monday. I mean, these are damaging wind gusts, and snow blowing and drifting as high as 3 or 4 feet. That's not how much snow is going to fall, but when you get a foot, foot and a half, maybe 2 feet of snow, and the wind is blowing it, it starts to drift up on the sides of buildings and whatnot, and you get these really tall snow drifts, and that's going to make snow cleanup exceptionally difficult. It's also going to continue to cause blowing and drifting of snow even after the snow is over. So that's why I was saying I wouldn't be surprised if that travel ban is extended into the afternoon hours. I certainly wouldn't travel if I don't have to here on Monday, because the wind, and let's just catch up on where we are here. This is 8 o'clock in the morning, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. We're still gusting 40, 50 miles per hour into the afternoon. So the snow is just going to continue to blow and drift around, even though the actual snow that's falling has stopped. But the snow that's already on the ground is going to continue to cause problems through the afternoon into the evening. I told a few friends that work in education, for example, that I think it's certainly a possibility that we see things still pretty significantly impacted on Tuesday morning. I don't see all of this being cleaned up that quickly. We're good at what we do. Sanitation's going to work their very hardest to keep the city clean, as well the other Department of Transportation crews throughout Long Island. But this is a big deal. This is a historic storm, one that I think a lot of people are going to remember for a really long time. So a lot going on here. Let's get one more look at what the snowfall amounts are. And again, don't mind me as I look over here at the menu, but here are some of the amounts projected from this particular model. And I mean, those are impressive amounts. Maybe you can't see those numbers. Let me put it full screen there. Maybe up to 20 inches of snow in the 5 boroughs. I personally think that this model's overdoing it a little bit for the 5 boroughs, but you get the idea. 10 to 20 inches of snow across the New York Metro, from New Jersey through the city, up through Long Island, and into southern Connecticut. This is a monster storm, and we haven't seen anything quite like this in a long time, maybe 10 years. We talked about that earlier, 2006, 2016, 2026. It's interesting how it's been kind of working out every 10 years that we get this sort of monster storm. There was a live camera here, and there's probably going to be an advertisement. We'll see if that, there it is, an advertisement. But once the ad is gone, you'll see a live view. This is an Earth Cam. Should be popping up here any second. We go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you, LinkedIn, for that promo. So there's a live look at the camera there overlooking Times Square. Snow still coming down and it's going to keep doing that till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. So enjoy your time staying in, be cozy, read a book, catch up on your TV shows, enjoy a glass of wine, but just don't head out. Again, travel ban in effect for the city until at least noon tomorrow. So stay safe, everyone. Have a great night. I'll have another weather update first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll see where we're at as far as snow amounts are by then. See you guys all tomorrow morning.